Alright, so recently I made a video talking about the Switch 2 and how I personally just think there's a lot of negative about it. Um, it was originally part of a series that I called the T Forecast, where usually I just talk about any random topic that's on my mind. And by random, it's very random. My T Forecasts aren't like a normal podcast or anything where you have like a, you know, kind of current events topic or something. I just think of some random stuff and just talk about it for anywhere between 45 minutes and 2 hours. So that's what this one originally started as. And when I make my T forecasts, more recently, well, not really more recently, as of like episode, let's say 25, they've all been when I'm driving. Before, they used to be, I was driving from my job to a vendor to pick up or drop off parts. And now it's when I'm driving home from work is when I make them. So, for the most part, I'm just driving, I'm holding my phone and just talking to myself for 45 minutes. That's why typically my videos are those videos about 45 minutes, because that's my whole ride home. So, anyways, I say that because the first ones I did, it was actually me just laying here on this couch talking to myself. I used to put the phone right next to my head and just talk. So those could go on for a really long time since I'm just home. Who cares? But anyways, my T forecasts typically do not take off at all. I get like 3 views on average, 3 to 5 views. And usually I just figure those are people that know me and they're just kind of like supporting my channel or whatever. But this one, the one talking about the Switch 2, actually took off. It got like 670-ish views, which in the grand scheme of YouTube is not a lot. But for me in general, and for the T forecast, that's insane. And unfortunately, this video landed on the wrong side of YouTube. I mean, if YouTube had anything similar to like subreddits, this would have landed on like Y, I guess, instead of R. Y, like Nintendo Dickriders or something, because so many of the comments I got were acting like I'm the biggest idiot, and a lot of them were, I don't even know what I'm talking about, and blah, blah, blah this, and blah, blah, blah that. And so, yeah, I only had about 4 smart comments out of like the, I don't know, 60 or something that the video got. It was ridiculous. One thing I would like to say is the dislikes are disabled for some reason, and somebody even commented on that, and they said something like, oh yeah, this must just be rage bait. And I said, why would this be rage bait? This is just me talking to myself about my opinion on what I think of this system. And he's like, well, you got comments disabled, so that just proves it. And I'm like, that's not my fault. Like, I try to make my videos as open as possible. Like, when you go to upload a video, there's a little section that says comments moderation, and they put it on mild. So there's supposed to be mild comment moderation, and I always turn it off. I say none, and they say, are you sure you want to allow all comments? And I say, yeah, like, that's what this is all about. People can engage. I don't want censoring that I gotta go through and approve or deny. No, just let it happen. As far as enabling or disabling thumbs up and thumbs downs, though, I don't know how to do that if it's something that I can control. I mean, as far as I know, I upload it and then YouTube just has it disabled. I don't want to have my dislikes and stuff disabled. I want it enabled because it helps me gauge metrics, obviously. If I get a video that has tons of dislikes, I mean, I'm sure the comments would help dictate that it probably would have a lot of dislikes, but if it just straight up has a lot of dislikes, it kind of helps to know which way to steer the video. Ooh, they didn't like this, let's not do this anymore. Or maybe try to still do this, but switch it a little. Let's read the comments and see what people thought. So I wouldn't turn it off. So it's off, but it's not my fault. If there is a way to turn it on, I can't say I don't know how to do it. I'm sure I could easily figure it out, but I just do everything on my phone. I don't actually go into YouTube Studio on my computer. It's all on my phone. And so what I see on my phone, there's no option to like enable dislikes and stuff. So if it uploads on default as disabled, that's not really my fault. That's a YouTube thing. Anyways, that's a weird, huge side quest. I'm just saying that though, because I'm sure this video will have the same situation. And again, I didn't disable it. It's just default. And I just haven't really looked into it on a computer as to how to enable them. But yeah, it's not that I have a problem with them being on. So anyways, though, before I get too sidetracked, what I wanted to do was I wanted to make this video just as a follow-up. Originally, what I was going to do was just kind of like hate on all the stupid comments I got and break them down why they're stupid and say the points more thoroughly and use examples and stuff from online and all that. But I figured, A, That's a lot of work, and I don't feel like putting in that much effort on something stupid like just a response video. And B, well, let me go back to A. Also a response video that may not get that many views. If it ends up like a normal T forecast, this won't get a lot of views. So what's the point of putting all that work in for 5 views? And B, I just figured I'm not really trying to like start problems with these people. Like, they're just anonymous idiots. Just, you know, oh, your opinion doesn't match mine. So like, whatever. Be a moron. You wrote your dumb comment and carried on with your life. Like, I'm not gonna like bring it up and just keep dwelling on it. But what I do want to do is just kind of expand on things a little bit more, make it a little more clear what I was thinking. Maybe some of my points were too vague, and that's why somebody thought I was an idiot. So if I can expand on them, and also just address some of the, I guess you could say, allegations. Like, for example, one thing I will come clean on now is there was, in my video, my T-Forecast, I said that the Switch 2 is coming with proprietary memory cards, kind of like what Vita did, how they had their goofy little chunky M2s that they released for their system. I thought that was the situation with Switch. It's not. It's actually a normal M2 card, but it's the extreme version or something like that. It's a newer version that's been released, but it's a normal SD card. I mean, it's released by you know, SanDisk and all the other ones. I'm sure Walmart's On brand has some available. So they're normal. It's not a proprietary thing to Nintendo. So my bad there, I guess. However, there still is a point with that, though. The point was, even, okay, it's not proprietary, but it's still a newer technology, so it's going to cost more. Like, memory cards are relatively cheap nowadays. I look at them all the time. It's like, you can get like 128 gigs for like $15, and I'm like, geez, I remember when 128 was like, you know, $75 or something. Now it's $15. It's nothing, and you get like a decent amount of memory. So these new ones, though, since they're newer technology and all this, and from what I hear, they released in December, so like they're very new. At this point in May, they're only, what, 5 months old? Maybe 6 months, depending. Like, if they released December 6th, well, May 6th would have been the 6-month mark. But otherwise, you know, they're very new, so they're going to cost more just by default. So, you know, what this does is when you buy the Switch 2, if you want to expand your memory, you got to pay more for it. And you can't use your existing memory cards because they're not going to work. Unless you happen to have some of these extremes already, because you're just somebody who's like a huge tech, whatever the word is I'm looking for. Kind of like a cinephile, but a techophile, I guess. I don't know. And you just are like, oh, what's this? I got to get this. But otherwise, those memory cards you already have, no good. They're not going to work. So you have to go out and buy new ones. Now, granted, the Switch 2 does come with a much more robust internal memory, storage, whatever I'm trying to say, versus the regular Switch. I mean, regular Switch is what, 32 gigs? And then you need those expansion cards because 32 gigs fills up easily. Where the new Switch is what, 128? So on the surface, that's good. But it's like, okay, what if the 128 gigs, though, is because the games are bigger, the files are bigger, so you need that extra space. So it's like, what's the trade-off here? You know what I mean? It's kind of like back in the day on PlayStation 1. Your memory cards had 15 blocks, but a game took up a block, typically. Some of them took up more, but for the most part, it was just one block. Whatever the block was, who cares? It took up one block. And then PlayStation 2, kind of the same idea, but a little bit larger. You know, now it started to have megabytes. Ooh, 8 megabytes. That was like a good memory card in PlayStation 2. Then the PlayStation 3 comes out, and that thing's 20 gigs. I mean, that sucks now, but then it was like, whoa, that's a lot. What's going on here? That's because the games were way bigger. You needed all that. So, all I'm trying to say is, does the Switch 2 actually need a lot more space to save versus the regular Switch? So that 128 is just proportionate from 32, you know what I mean? I mean, what is that, 4 times more memory? So does each game take up 4 times more space to save? Which means you're 4 times more likely to need to buy these new extreme cards that cost more money. So, yeah, okay, I misspoke, but there still is a point as to why that kind of sucks. Anyways, I have a little list here, so if I'm looking down, that's all. I'm just trying to remember my points. Okay, said all that. So, anyhow, one thing right out the gate as to why I was critical of Nintendo is, well, geez, I say one thing, but there's quite a bit of reasons why I'm critical of the Switch 2. First off, I want to make it very clear that I'm somebody who's been like a lifelong Nintendo fan, okay? I'm a guy in my mid-30s now, and I've been playing Nintendo products since I was like 6 maybe, somewhere in that range, somewhere between 5 and 7. I don't really know when I started, probably more towards 6. But yeah, I was playing my dad's original NES, which I still have. I inherited it, so it's mine now, and I still have it plugged in. I mean, I just recently unplugged it for the season because in summer it gets hot in my place, so I like to box it up to kind of try to protect it. I don't know if it makes any difference, but still, I don't want the system getting hot. You know, it's not like a system of today where it has internal fans and stuff, or at least I don't think it does. So I don't use it in summer, but in fall it might get re-plugged back in, and you know, I'll be playing it fall, winter, and spring again. But yeah, so I still play that. And I've had almost every Nintendo system except for Virtual Boy and like Super Nintendo. Otherwise, I had a N64, GameCube, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, DS, DS Lite, DSi, 3DS, a Wii, Wii U, Switch now. I've had them all. And I've played them a lot. I have hours and hours and hours and hours logged into a bunch of these systems. I say hours, I should say hundreds of hours is more fitting. I mean, geez, I know on Game Boy Advance, just one game alone, I have 215 hours logged into it, and that's one game. So, you know, I'm a huge fan of Nintendo products. I've always had a Nintendo product. I mean, the other thing I'm a fan of is PlayStation, because that was the first console that was mine. Like, I played my dad's NES as a kid, but my first personal console was a PlayStation 1. So I've always had, like, a soft spot for PlayStation and for Nintendo. But I've always maintained, like, both systems. Even if I didn't have the console for Nintendo, like the home console, I had the handheld while I was playing my PlayStation or what have you. So, you know, being critical of the Switch 2 is somebody who's, like, a fan and kind of wanted to get the Switch 2. But now I'm having second thoughts, like, you know, I don't feel like it's worth my money to be spending on this system when I don't feel like Nintendo is having the fans' best interests in mind. It seems like they have more their best interests for money and all that in mind with minimal effort. I mean, speaking of minimal effort, you know, as a design engineer myself for the past, 14 years? Yeah, 14 years. Wow. Didn't realize it was so long until I said that out loud. But, you know, I think about designs all day, every day. Even stupid things that I buy in the store, sometimes I'll look at and just think, I wonder how they made this. Think about the design process of the part itself. Think about how they designed the tooling so that way then they could mold it and make it and all this. And when I look at the Switch 2, I think there's barely any effort into this. I think about if I worked at Nintendo and they tasked me with redesigning the Switch to make a Switch 2, what they came up with was the easiest job ever. They kept basically the same overall size. What'd they do? Same exact thickness, and they made it slightly longer, right? So the screen's a little bigger. Ooh, wow, that's a lot of work there. And then they changed the joycons from a mechanical fit, which from a design standpoint actually takes a lot more work, to a magnetic fit, which takes a lot less work. You know what I mean? Before, you had to have those little slides that went in to each other, have the little snap that connects, so that then the controllers were stuck there. Now you get rid of all that, and it's just flat with 2 magnets. And then they just... Like, the design is not only extremely derivative, but it's easier than the Switch 1. So I'm looking at it from a design standpoint, and I'm looking at the overall price, and I'm like, they want $450 for what? I mean... The design had nothing to do with it. The design was 5 minutes and the guy was done. Hey, I came up with the Switch 2. What do you think of this? Wow, looks great. Good job. You know? And then I look at the features of the Switch 2. I'm like, okay. So it has what? Like on average, a 720 output or something up to 4K, which I don't even know what the up to 4K is. Is that handheld mode only? Or is that when it's on a screen? And then I heard some people saying that the 4K isn't even real. It's like AI upscaling. So anyways, regardless of what it is, I'm like, this technology's been out since PS5. PS5 released 5 years ago. Nintendo is just finally catching up, incorporating this old technology into their system. And they think that we should be paying premium prices because they're finally catching up. And not only that, but that's just comparing to Sony. Like, when did 4K actually come out? I don't think that was 2020. Like, it wasn't like, oh, 4K, what's this? PlayStation has it. Like, I'm pretty sure it was already out before that, so this technology could be 7, 8, 10 years old, and Nintendo's finally catching up, and we're supposed to pay premium prices for that? Because you finally caught up? I mean, this is the first console that they've ever released that's finally caught up as well. Everything's always been slightly behind from Nintendo. Which kind of made sense, because Nintendo's MO has been like, it's all about fun and, playing differently, and creativity and stuff. So it was like, okay, sure. When 720 was the latest and greatest thing, and, what was it, like days of GameCube? GameCube was only 420 when PS2 and all that was 720 or something like that. Don't get all frustrated in the comments now if I'm wrong. If I'm not mistaken, there was a phase like that where it was slightly behind, but it was fine, because it was like, okay, well, this is like a step forward for Nintendo. They finally have discs. They have cool little proprietary discs. They got a cool controller that everyone loves. It's a nice little cube that's like portable and stuff. So you kind of forgave it, and that's been their thing all along. You've always forgiven that they're behind, because they were more about the games and like a family experience, if you will, like playing multiplayer games like Mario Party with your family and stuff, rather than, oh yeah, I'm a hardcore gamer. Look how sick this game looks on my TV. It's like I'm really there. It feels real. So anyways, though, now that they've caught up, it's like, well, are you trying to use that as the reason that you're going to charge more? Because you put in old technology in your console? I mean, geez, before you know it, 8K is going to be taken off. I mean, they already talk about 8K, but it's more just kind of like a joke, like, yo, okay, 8K. But soon enough, that'll be a thing. And here's Switch 2. Oh, I'm finally 4K. You should pay a lot for me. And then I laugh because the next thing I'm going to say is making fun of the name of the console. Switch 2. That is, again, zero effort. I mean, Nintendo has always put effort into their console names. I mean, some of it was kind of dumb, like calling GameCube a GameCube. It's a cube that plays video games. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. But at least it was a name, N64. Oh, Nintendo, that's 64-bit. Wii, oh, it's different. It's fun. It's Wii. I mean, Wii U, I don't understand what the naming for that was. That's weird. It's Wii. It's completely different than the regular Wii, but then they slap a U on it, and it's like, okay. And then Switch made sense at the time, because it was like it could switch from handheld to console. And it was like, okay. And they've always kind of had, like, witty names. I think the most wittiest would have been the 3DS. 3DS was super clever. It was like the third DS variety. And it was a 3D capable console. 3DS, third DS, 3DS. Like, it was just a perfect name for the console. And so now the Switch 2 comes out, and that's the best they can come up with. It's like the lead designer of the Switch 2 was at home one night and just was like, asked his 5-year-old kid, hey, what do you think we should call our new Switch? You know how we play Switch all the time? I'm part of a team that's working on a new one. What should we call it? And the kid was just like, Switch 2. And the guy was like, that's it. Switch 2. I would have never thought of that. And then he ran to the office the next day, pitched it, and everyone was like, yeah, Switch 2. Like, it's no effort. That's the dumbest name, especially coming from Nintendo. Because, yeah, you might be able to say, oh, well, Sony does that. It's been PlayStation 1, then it went to PlayStation 2, and even now, PlayStation 5, people are talking about rumors of PlayStation 6. It's like, okay, but that's different. That is what Nintendo always did. I mean, PlayStation always did. Sony always did. So it's fine. That's their way of doing things. It would be almost like Xbox. If they made a boring name for the next one, what is it called now? Series X? So imagine their next console is called Series X2. It would be boring. It's like you've always switched up. Xbox, then it was Xbox 360, then it was Xbox One, then you came up with Series X. Now you're just going to come up with Series X2? That's boring. And again, if you're going to charge premium prices for your console and your games, the least you can do is put some effort in either the design or put effort in on the name at least. Come up with some awesome name. And I know some people defend it like, wow, it's because they want to make it clear that it's still just a Switch, but it's the next one. It's Switch 2. It's newer. It's better. It's not just the same old console. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. But like, everyone knew all along with all these other names. You knew that Wii was a new console. It wasn't like, is that still a GameCube? I'm not sure. You knew. So you call the thing something else. I mean, geez, it only makes it more obvious, does it not? If you give it a totally different name. No, Switch 2. I mean, with how consoles come out as like Pro and stuff, like on PlayStation, PlayStation 5 Pro, PlayStation 5 Slim, and all this crap. Now it's like, well, is the Switch 2 actually a new console? Or is it like an upgrade to the existing Switch? Like, I'm not saying that as me. I know it's the next console, but say you're somebody that's not fully engaged, like, you know, I don't know, a grandparent or something, and you don't really know. Now you're gonna, you know, well, this thing's Pro. Does that mean that's the next system? The PlayStation 5 Pro? Is that like a PlayStation 6? Or, oh, so is the Switch 2 actually the next system? Or is that just like the PlayStation 5 Pro situation? Where if it had a completely different name, then it's obvious that it's the next system. It's not the same thing, you know? So, that's kind of what I was looking at when I'm looking at these prices. That's what I'm comparing it to, is the price. You want to be lazy and not really change the design and not put much effort in the name? Cool, don't. I mean, it's your product. You don't have to. But at the same time, don't rip us off. Charge us $300 then, just like the current Switch is. Hey, we didn't do much difference to it, so $300. Does that sound fair to you? Yeah, sounds fair to me. Don't ask me for $150 more for no effort. That's ridiculous. You know, that's like when we have a customer that comes to us at my job, and if we need to build tooling for whatever their project is, as long as their volumes are decent enough, we just absorb the tooling. We don't charge the customer. Yeah, we got to build the tooling for them, but we're not going to charge them if they're going to give us a good enough work. You know, if they're going to order like 500,000 pieces and we got to build tooling to do so, okay, that's free for you. So, same idea. If you're going to put no effort into your console, that's fine. But don't expect us to pay more for it. That's ridiculous. Then another thing that I find pretty annoying is how this new system, we have to pay $150 more for than the base model. Now, currently, Switch's like premium model is the OLED version, which is $350. So if you even compare it to that, it's still $100 more than their current premium offering, which really, it's the same exact thing as a regular Switch, only it's white, and it has a better screen, which that screen is only valuable on handheld mode. Once you connect to a TV, it's exactly the same. But anyways, this new console that costs more, $100 to $150, depending on what you're comparing to, doesn't even come with an OLED screen. Like, they want premium prices, and they're offering us a baseline model system, though. Which just makes me also annoyed with this console, and why I'm seriously considering not buying it, and I have issues with it and made that last video. Because I'm like, what does this mean? In the future, they're going to release Switch 2 OLED, and then charge $50 more for it? Like they did with the regular Switch, and it's like, you know, you could have just you already have the technology. You put the OLED in your current Switches. Moving forward, you should just build on it. You know what I mean? When you go to school and you're learning math just builds upon itself. It doesn't like go to this level of math, then you go to this level of math, then all of a sudden the next level of math you're down here, and then the next level of math you're up here. No. It just keeps building. So you have a Switch OLED. You're going to make a Switch 2. Put that OLED in the Switch 2. At least give something that you can explain is why it costs so much. No, they're going to do a Switch 2 OLED and charge another $50. Who knows, maybe even more. And so now you're going to have a Switch that's going for $500. Which is ridiculous. I mean, for something that's marginally better than the current Switch, to pay $500? Would you pay $500 for a current Switch? No. I bet you a lot of people don't even pay the $350 for an OLED. You're going to pay $500 because it's a Switch 2. It's a new one. Oh, it's got OLED. Like, come on, don't be dumb. Anyways, I'm trying to figure out what I'm saying here in this next point. It's called point 3. I feel like it should have been point 2. I don't know. Well, anyways, we'll just start talking about it. So I have something here that says, oh, yeah, okay. So, that's what this point was about. What this video is here actually is a remaster, I guess you could say, of a video I already made. So I already pre-made this video, not pre-made, I already previously made this video, this response video, but it was a little not so good. It was a little heated, and it kind of got a little stupid. It wasn't planned out at all. Like, I didn't have these notes like I have now. I was trying to like do it all off the top of my head, and I didn't like how it came out. I didn't even bother editing it. I had a whole bunch of clips that I recorded, and I just deleted them all. But I did save one portion. It was a little bit of a research I did online, because what it was a lot of people were commenting that Nintendo Switch games are not $90. Well, they're not $90. Nintendo even confirmed that. The most they'll be is 80. Blah, 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 blah. However, there's been a lot of news circulating out there that Switch games would be not, $80 digital and $90 physical. And so when I made my first video, at that point, that was, I think, May 7th. And on April 30th, I found an article when I made that video that was dated April 30th, which would have been exactly a week before I recorded that video. And it would have been a day or two, like, before I recorded my original video to begin with. And there was still an article saying that physical games were going to be $80 and, $90, and digital games would be $80. And so, yeah, I was just trying to show that because, it just proved what I was saying. Like, all these people hating on me like I'm an idiot because they were saying I was spreading misinformation and stuff. Well, if it's misinformation, it's not my fault. The information's readily out there. So anyways, before I get any further, I'm going to plug it in right here. And what I want to do is just give you a heads up that it's a little bit aggressive because, again, it was my original recording. So it's a little more sassy than this tone has been. So that's why. But the overall research still stands, though. So anyways, let's just take a look at it. All right, so I'm going to do this in real time, just so you can see exactly what A, I might have seen, and B, so we can put this to rest. So, to start, sure, let's go to Google. Oh, I'm on Google. Oh, let's see. Nintendo Switch 2 $90 games. Let's see. The confusion around, this is Reddit. Let's not pay attention to Reddit. Let's see. What do we got here? That's still Reddit. AI overview. Okay, let's see what AI says. Yes, some Nintendo Switch 2 games are priced at $90 physically, with digital versions costing up to $80. Huh. I must be spreading misinformation when Google tells me this. Man, me and Google need to stop collaborating to spread misinformation. Some physical games, particularly Switch 2 exclusives and re-releases, will cost $90 for the physical copy. Oh, God, I'm so wrong on what I'm talking about. Is there a date on this so I can see how current this is? Also, what's the source? It looks like it's YouTube and Reddit. So, okay, let's ignore the AI. Maybe the AI is a little bit wrong. Let's see. Can I find an article somewhere? Let's see. YouTube. Nope. Well, this was April 11th, April 7th. Anything newer? I'm looking because I found something when I was at work that was way newer. I was hoping to be able to find it here with you guys so I don't have to fucking hear it. Oh, what's this say? Nintendo confirms $90 price for full Breath of the Wild experience on Switch 2. But there's no $90 games, but apparently Nintendo confirmed it. Well, I guess I'm just over here lying. I'm an idiot. Ooh, April 24th. April 24th, 2025. It's not $80 or $90. It's $10. Oh, well, something else. Family boards. April 10th. Nope. April 6th. It's a little bit too old. April 10. April 28. Ooh, April 28. All right, so that was the first portion of my research. Unfortunately, I did find a article while I was at work, because as these comments were coming in, obviously I'm at work, so I did a quick research, and I wanted to see, like, am I wrong? Am I an idiot? And the first thing that popped up during that research was an article like straight up confirming that yes, Switch 2 games are going to be $90, $80 digital. So at the time, just in case I couldn't find it later when I made the video, I actually took a picture of it. And so anyways, this next video is of that. It's just, you know, I'm just showing you, hey, this is what I found on Google. So, you know, if the prices aren't what they say they are, it's not my fault. Okay, so unfortunately, all I have is the screenshot. This is a screenshot of my work computer. And as you can see at the top, I can zoom in, are Switch 2 games $90. Okay, we got Reddit as the first thing. We're not going to take a look at that, but we can take a look at this. It says, are Switch 2 physical games $90? According to Insider Gaming, I don't know their credentials. Maybe they're no good. Maybe I should look into that a little bit more. But it says games for the Nintendo Switch 2 will cost up to $80 for digital and $90 for physical. Hey, let's take a look at the date. Oh, April 30, 2025. Wow. So in other words, this is very up-to-date news, since this was exactly 1 week ago, as today is May 7th. Huh. So anyways, as you saw, like, there's the research. Anybody can very readily, easily look this up. It's just there. So even if it's not correct, what I said, I'm not spreading misinformation. Like, this is a internet problem. This is a Google problem. This is a other YouTubers problem. This is poor marketing on Nintendo's part. Like, it's not me. So to try to say I'm spreading misinformation or whatever is ridiculous, because the information, if it's false or not, is right there. It's on the first page of Google. You don't even have to like go too deep, you know? So I just wanted to show that because it was just annoying. All these people saying all this stuff, and it's like, relax. Like, it's not me. I'm saying what I heard. If you've heard differently, cool for you. Anyways, now the last thing I wanted to say about why I'm not a fan of Nintendo Switch 2, and something that I think people are just like, I don't know, stupidly overlooking or something, is the new price points for the Switch games. Switch 2 games, I should say. Because even if the games are only $80, like, that is not a only situation. That is still a terrible price. Okay, whoops, they're not 90. They're only 80. Oh, my bad, they're only 80. Like, that's still ridiculously high. That is still $20 more than what they currently are. I mean, if you want to look at that statistically, that's 33% higher than they currently are. I mean, that's ridiculous. $80 for a new game? Because, and then Nintendo tries to justify it by saying, oh, well, we base it on, like, the replayability and all that we added to the game. Games from all time should have high replayability. Like, that should be the number one goal of a game. Not make a game that's like, well, you're going to play it once and then that's it. Really don't need to ever play it again. They should all have replayability in mind. And now all of a sudden we got to be charged more for it? Oh, this game, we put a lot of replayability in there, so we're going to rip you off $20 more. I mean, it's just stupid. And I don't understand these Nintendo fans that are just like, yeah, that's fine. I'll pay that. I'm an idiot. Probably the first to complain about capitalism, but then they'll go out and buy these expensive games. Like, you make sense. But anyways, it just sets a terrible precedent. You know, Nintendo pulls this nonsense, and now the other companies are going to be like, hey, look what they did. Let's us try it. And it's already happening. Xbox is planning on raising their console prices $100 more, and they're setting their games to be $80 as well, which kind of seems like a stupid strategy on Xbox's part. Not to go on a little tangent here, but A, anybody that wanted an Xbox has one. And B, I mean, isn't Xbox, like, losing in the console wars? You know? I mean, Sony is killing it. Everybody wants a PS5. And obviously Nintendo's doing just fine being its own niche little thing. And Xbox is just kind of hanging on like, our 360 days were our glory days. Ever since then, nobody cares about us. I mean, not too long ago, weren't they talking about, like, getting rid of consoles and coming up with deals with Nintendo and Sony so then they could sell their exclusives on those consoles instead, so they wouldn't even have a console anymore? So it just seems kind of weird to sell your console for $100 more when nobody's buying it in the first place, but okay. Also, a lot of people say that Xbox or Microsoft doesn't even have any decent exclusives. So again, it just seems kind of goofy that you're going to charge $80 for games that nobody's buying. But okay. But regardless, it's just setting a terrible precedent. See, they've already jumped on board. And who knows who else? I don't know if Sony has yet. I hope not. But maybe they have, or maybe they're thinking about it. And then there's all the other things. What about Steam? Steam will be like, hey, Nintendo's selling more for digital games. Maybe we can. Or Quest, or whatever there is. Even iOS games. I don't buy games on my phone. I only download freemium games. But even those might go up. Hey, look what Nintendo did. We should jump on that. And it sets a bad precedent for the gaming industry. And then it becomes the decline of the gaming industry. It starts the death of it. And all these idiots are just like, yep, this is fine. Yep, I'll pay it. Because I'm brain dead. I need to have the latest and greatest game. Duh. I can't think first. And then a couple other things is I think about, like, what about used games? For me, personally, I buy a lot of used games from GameStop. Now, GameStop, a lot of times their pricing sucks, but their used games are usually like, 5% less? Not even that juicy, but it's something, at least. But now if a game's going for $80 new, 5% less is, $4? I mean, so that puts it at $76 used. Even if it's 10% off, that's still $72 used. I mean, for comparison purposes, it took me forever just to buy Tears of the Kingdom. Because used, that game is $64.99. And I was like, I'm not paying more for a used game than every other game new costs. Every other game's $59.99. I'm going to pay $64.99 for this one used? No, F you. The only reason I have it is because recently, GameStop had a sale, buy two, get one free. And I can't really capitalize on that deal like I used to when games were all pretty cheap, $10 and stuff. But I went and bought a few expensive games with that one. So I bought Tears of the Kingdom, like Mario Odyssey and something else. All games that are always expensive because, Nintendo never reduces their prices, and so GameStop doesn't either. And, so I did that so then it would feel a little better. So overall, if you looked at the price point of what each one would be equivalency of, it was like $38 each. And I'm like, okay, Tears of the Kingdom for $38, not so bad. $65? But $38? Sure. But that's $65. We're talking potential of $76. That's $11 more. I don't want to pay $65 for a used game. I sure don't want to pay $76. Like, that's ridiculous. I try to maximize what I can get. I try to go to GameStop and be able to get like 3 games for $60, 4 games if I can. Not one for $76 plus tax. I mean, geez, after tax, you're looking at what, 78, 50-ish? That's ridiculous. And I feel like nobody's thinking that either. They're just like, yep, these $80 prices are totally fine. Yep, this makes sense. And then, even though, like, the generation that video games really blew up with is my generation, and, like, so now we're the adults with kids and stuff, at the end of the day, kids still like video games too. And, what if your kid wants a new game, and it's like, $80 for the game, or $76 used? It just becomes a situation where it's like, geez, like, now it can be challenging to make that decision at $55 used, but it's a lot less of a blow than $76. Like, when you buy a game for yourself as an adult, it's for you, whatever, you know what you're getting into. But when it's for your kid, it's not just for you, because you got to think about other things. You got to think, okay, I can buy this for my kid, but I also need to get gas, or I need to make sure I have food for dinner this week, or this or that. And it's kind of like a different mindset. Like, you're thinking about all your stuff for you as well, and your family. Where when you just buy something for yourself, you figure all that's already handled. That's why you're doing it for yourself. So it's like, what's going to happen there? The kids are going to have to miss out on cool stuff because Nintendo wants to be greedy. Hey, Mom, can I get a new game? Nah, they're way too expensive. Sorry, son. I know this is a hobby of yours, but, Nintendo wants to rip us off. Microsoft wants to rip us off, so I can't afford to do this for you. It's just a terrible precedent to set and a terrible trend to start and all that. And I just can't understand why people are, like, defending this like it's okay. It's not. It's ridiculous. I mean, if you want to increase your prices a little bit because you're like, well, geez, they've been 60 for the past, what, 30 years? Maybe it's time we increase them a little. Fine. Increase them $5, you know? Make it so new games are 65 now instead of 60. Like, you're still getting a little bit more. Does it really have to jump to 80? Potentially 90? No, it doesn't. So anyhow, I think that's all my main points I have here. I mean, every single thing that's on this list I've talked about. And so, yeah, I just want to go through this, kind of address a lot of the major concerns, try to make myself a little more clear, expand a little bit more on the topics. That's another thing, too, I didn't get around to saying earlier. It's kind of a weird spot to put this now, but while I'm thinking of it, I do want to say if there was anything that I said wrong in the T4cast that I made, that's because, again, I'm driving. And everything that I was talking about was what I heard. I had listened to the entire Direct. I also had listened to a lot of other YouTubers like RGT85 and, what's his name? I don't know. There's this other guy who has like long hair. He's pretty cool. I like listening to him. And a bunch of random other YouTubers too that I don't normally listen to, but I just listened to what they had to say about the Direct. And so, yeah, that's basically what my information source was at the time. Those people plus the Direct itself. So, you know, okay, maybe the information I gathered was slightly limited, but you know, it wasn't just like I heard one piece of something in an article and made a whole entire video on it. It was based on what I had at the time. And maybe that information I had at the time was accurate, but it changed quickly due to backlash. Because I know that Nintendo put out a live a few days after the Direct, and apparently the comments were just tons of people just spamming like, drop your price, drop the price, drop the price. I don't know if it was on the console or on the game or both, but it was just being spammed over and over. Drop your price, drop your price. So maybe Nintendo actually responded and those $90 games are no longer 90 because of that. Maybe they realized, oh, this is a bad move on our part. It could be disastrous, so they dropped it to just 80. I guess we'll stick with physical being the same as digital at 80, at just 80. So, you know, which means that the information I had was correct. I just wasn't up to date with how the aftermath of the live went, if that's the situation. I'm just making stuff up here. But, yeah. So, anyways, overall, I think the Switch 2 is kind of a ripoff. And like I said at the end of my T4cast, I don't know what I'm personally going to do. I might buy one just for, like, the exclusives, though. You know, the Pokemon games, Mario Party, Mario Kart, few others that might be pretty cool that are exclusive to Nintendo. But maybe that's it. Like right now I just see cool stuff and I'm like, ooh, what's this? I'm just going to buy it. Well, maybe with Switch 2, not so much. So that's option A. Option B, maybe I'll just end up ditching Nintendo. First time in my whole entire life I won't have the latest Nintendo console. And maybe I'll just go stick with Sony only, just have a PS5. I don't know. Or maybe I'll just give up on gaming altogether. That could be good too. I mean, you know, I am a well-established adult, meaning like I'm not like in my early 20s or something. I'm more pushing 40, so maybe I shouldn't be worrying about video games. Not that I play them. I hardly ever have time to play my games. I'm just a collector. But, you know, maybe I shouldn't worry about wasting money on just collecting games. You know, maybe it's better if I actually played them instead of just collecting them. So since I can't play them, why collect them? And give up on it. I don't know. This is like a 25-year hobby I've had, collecting games, but I don't know. Or I could do something completely different and just go to PC gaming. You know, I browsed on GameStop's website like PC games, and PC games are very cheap in comparison to what I'm used to on Switch and stuff. So it could save me a lot of money there. Sure, I'd have to pay a little bit more for the console, but the games are dead cheap, and you can get tons of games. You get everything, basically, except for Nintendo exclusives. But you get all the other games that are on Sony and Xbox, plus you get anything that's exclusive to PC. So that's a good option, too. I don't know. But yeah, so this is just all I got. Just a little bit of an expansion on that video. Just kind of recover things. Tell you what I think a little bit more in detail, do it a little bit more organized, and yeah, guess that's all I got, and until whatever comes next, see you later.